Writing lyrics to me is like, I'm not always in the mood to write lyrics, basically. I'm not always feeling super inspired to put my thoughts down into words. It's a bit of a puzzle to make the words fit with the sound and the song and the story. And it's also probably different what language you're writing in. You know, sometimes I write in Icelandic, but for the last few years, I've been mainly writing in English, and that is my second language. So that is kind of sometimes good, sometimes bad. But what I do, like what is my most useful tip for writing lyrics is to collect words and to keep track of things. Like when I think of something, I just try to write it down, so that if I'm working on a song and I'm really deeply inside of the songwriting process and I'm not really thinking about a particular feeling or story or something that I want to express with words, I can come back to something that I've already written down. As like it's like everything you generate is very meaningful and valuable. It's valuable to you because you did it, and it's maybe not really valuable to anyone else yet. But if you collect things, you can sort of have little backup valuable words and moments. Read books, poetry, lyrics. It's so good to just be awake and be alert and be taking stuff in. Like I say, be open, be inspired. It's the same, I think, for listening to music. Of course, I didn't actually mention that, but I think it's pretty obvious. But I guess like yeah, we shouldn't forget, if you are a songwriter writing lyrics, then you should not forget about reading books and poetry and reading other lyrics every now and then, just for fun. And like, you know, not in the way where you're going to sit down and like take inspiration directly. It's just more of like having things constantly flowing through your system is so good. Like I said, with English, it's my second language. I think don't be afraid of using a dictionary if you're also writing in English, or even if you're writing in another language. I think it applies to any language, whether it's your first or your second, third, whatever language. Dictionaries are fun, and they have all sorts of things. There's like so many different ways of saying the same thing, and especially in English, like it's crazy. They have so many different words for the most ridiculous things, and I end up using things sometimes that are the right way to do it, and sometimes I use it the wrong way, and that can be beautiful too. So don't be afraid of that, like playing with the words and seeing if you can sort of say one thing in many different ways. Metaphors and encoded meaning. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to say as well. It's like you can have a meaning in your heart, or a story, or a truth that you want to put out in lyrics, but you don't really know how, or it seems really stupid. But if you just play around with writing something in many different ways and kind of workshopping it before you actually put it into a song is really great. You can just sit there and you can write like the same thing as a story or as a poem, and then you can try the lyrics and look at it from many different perspectives. Like if it's an object that you can hold in your hand, you can sort of take a look at it from all the different angles and let the light shine through it and sparkle. I had some thought as well, which I forget now, but might be able to come back to me. Listen to the flow of the words. So sometimes I write things that are a bit wordy. That's a word that I made up, if it's wordy, but maybe you know what it means. Like things feel very like dense, and the lyrics don't necessarily like feel like they're flowing together with the song. That can be kind of like a little bit sort of clunky and wordy, if that makes sense. Like you can basically just, yeah, try to squish in a bit too much. And I don't really like that, but some people maybe do. But I would just say be careful. If you want to make something that I like, which obviously you do not have to do. So don't take anything for a truth that I say. But what I do think is true is that be kind to yourself. Like if it doesn't come to you now, that's okay. Like I said, my process is to collect and collect and collect. And then when the time is right, I come back to it. So that's quite efficient. And then you kind of eliminate those moments where you feel really stuck and where you feel like your work is like not really going anywhere. But it's also okay just to stop and take a break and say, okay, the song is fine. We have some gibberish lyrics, and then we'll come back and change that. And I just put this sort of scan from a piece of paper when I was writing the song called Gravity. And as you can see, it was pretty straightforward. This is how I wrote the lyrics by hand, which I sometimes do, and sometimes I write it in the computer. But I think, yeah, this one is very much just, you have to scratch things out and try them again and write words on the side. And it's kind of its own little map for how it wants to be. And then when you feel like it's right, it's right. But yeah, it's very hard to expect that you're just going to sit down and write the lyrics perfectly the first time. I don't really know if that happens to anyone. This is just an example of a little note on my phone. Very like just sitting there brainstorming words in that moment and not necessarily having a meaning, just having like, this is what I'm into right now. And then they're just there. So when you need a word, you have a word, and that's really great.